Fuck it. Are we live? Are we doing this? Are we in here? Looks like we're in here. Checking.
Are we live? Are we doing this?
We are doing this.
Here? Looks like we're in.
All right. Let's tell the internets. We're live. We're finally doing it at a decent time and actually on Sunday. What's up, guys? What's up, Faux Rebel, Chris George, Danny Kett? Let's see. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the weekly stream. Live stream Sunday. How's it going? It's going pretty good, actually. As usual, I haven't been awake that long, but it's kind of cool to just sort of get up and know that you're going to stream. So you don't like dilly-dally too much in the morning. I'm the only one you follow that streams on Sunday. That's pretty good. Actually, I missed like the last couple of Sundays. I streamed on Monday last week, but I think I'm back in the groove now. Patron and longtime supporter with first time in stream. Awesome. Thank you for joining the stream and thank you for being a patron. My patrons literally keep me alive, so I appreciate that. Oh, see, this is cool. When people say your name, they don't have to tag you like with @. At least for me. And this works because I recently changed my channel name to T1J. So whenever someone types T1J, it like highlights it for me. So that's awesome. Can everybody hear me well? Is there like background noise or is it too low or too loud? I actually have my little heater running because it's like really cold here in Alabama. So if but I tested it earlier and it looked like the microphone didn't pick it up. It is pretty loud, so it's interesting that the mic's not picking it up, but that's good. But yeah, it's really cold. And turning on like the central heat is way too expensive. So I'm trying to avoid doing that. So I got my little space heater. Yeah, I'm sure it's much colder up there in Wisconsin. Oprah's speech was amazing, by the way. I love Oprah. I talked about Oprah last stream. She's like one of my heroes, one of my inspirations. Got my coffee as usual. How do you feel about people pushing Oprah to run for president? I mean, it's whatever. She can run as she wants. At the end of the day, like there's this idea that people win elections just because they're popular. But I don't think that's how it works. People win elections if they have ideas that people resonate with. So if she's able to put forth some ideas that people resonate with, then, you know, go for it. But I don't know. She may be awful at formulating a reasonable platform. I don't think it's really hard to really even imagine what who would or would not be good at being the president. And it depends on what you even describe as a good president. Because I don't think we've had a good president in like maybe ever, but at least definitely not in my lifetime. Like people talk about qualifications a lot, and I've thought about that a lot. And it's like, what does a qualification mean? Is someone who's been in politics for a long time? Because there are a lot of people who've been in politics for a super long time, who seem to be like incompetent sociopaths still. So thoughts on the electoral college? I think it's dumb and we need to get rid of it. Who would I consider a good president? Well, I mean, like I just said, I'm not sure we've ever had a like good president. We've had some presidents that, you know, got some things done, but all of those good things done were always tempered by some shitty things. Maybe Abraham Lincoln was a good president, but it kind of depends on your definition of what's a good president. Like to some people, a good president is like a cold sociopath who's only focused on results and making the country, you know, succeed economically and internationally. And other people, a good president is a person who does his best to be a good person and make sure that as many people in the world are, you know, helped while also helping the country to prosper. So, you know, like a lot of people think Barack Obama was a good president, and by many measures he was. He got a lot of things done. He like turned around the economy, but also, you know, he killed a lot of innocent people with war and drone strikes. And to me, that disqualifies you from being a good president, but maybe not to everybody. In Czechia, how do you say that? What do you think about people who try to be apolitical on sites like YouTube and how that may be seen as a privileged position to take? Well, I don't think it's a privileged position to take. I don't. Politics is. Here's my thing. And this is something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. What I care most about is you taking care of yourself and your mental health and finding ways to be positive and happy. And it's really, really hard to do that if you're worried about politics all the time. So I don't blame anybody that doesn't want to think about politics, because it's very destructive to mental health. And I think the idea that you have to, you know, focus on something that doesn't make you feel good, doesn't make you happy, is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of sadistic almost. I think that's a problem with a lot of people. Everyone thinks that everyone else has to care about the same things that they care about. And that's just not how it is. We need some people to care about politics, sure. But everybody doesn't have to. Especially if it's a person who has realized that it doesn't make them happy and it, you know, ruins their day. There's a difference between being made uncomfortable and like your mental health being ruined, or you just being a miserable, cynical person every day. There's two different things. Am I familiar with the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact? Yes, I am. What's your take on the Logan Paul thing? I don't know, man. Logan Paul has been doing ridiculous stunts since the Vine days, and to me, the most recent thing was just another thing in the line. I'm more interested in the YouTube side of things, where I don't know, YouTube, they just like, they like punish a lot of people for being like remotely controversial, but randomly Logan Paul gets to upload this like obviously, this video that obviously breaks YouTube community guidelines, and it gets on the trending page and gets 6 million views. Like, just the way YouTube works is just really dumb. Well, yeah, I don't agree that you should dismiss it as unimportant. And I feel like most people who say they're apolitical don't do that, but maybe some of them do. But yeah, the Logan Paul thing is just, I don't know if it was the last straw for a lot of people, but it just kind of it like exemplifies all the stuff that we've sort of been complaining about YouTube. It's like, so many people have been trying to make responsible, informed content, and no one's getting any views. Everyone's getting demonetized. People are trying to make mental health videos and LGBTQ videos, and even just like, light-hearted comedy videos, or even stuff like food reviews are getting demonetized. Like, people are just trying to make honest, good content, but then here's, the Logan Pauls of the world that are making like this super shocking, sketchy content that, nobody, it's just it's designed to get views. It's shocking content, and they get on the trending page, #1 on trending. And it just sort of proves the point that everybody was making. And the thing about it is, those big creators hurt everybody else, because it just makes it more likely for the smaller people to get demonetized. I've been at your live stream for almost 3 years. Hope you're doing good. Awesome. I'm doing good. Thanks for the support. Thanks for watching. Do I follow any gaming channels, websites? Any recommendations? Well, if you're talking about just like general gaming, I don't necessarily follow that many, unless you count like Angry Video Game Nerd and like Pro Jared and stuff like that. Usually what I do, like, I watch a lot of gaming videos, but what I do is I watch videos specific to the games that I'm into, and channels that specific to the games that I'm into. So like, I'm playing a lot of League of Legends now, so I watch a lot of League of Legends content on YouTube. I used to watch a lot of World of Warcraft content. I used to watch a lot of Overwatch content. I watch a lot of Smash Brothers content, and like other fighting games like Street Fighter and stuff. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm into. How's Chris? Chris is doing well. He's been taking it easy lately, working a lot and just hanging out with his girlfriend. Who's the most confident person I've met? I don't know. This is kind of hard to answer. I feel like everybody they sort of goes go in and out of periods of high confidence and periods of low confidence. I don't know if I've ever met anyone who's just pure confidence all the time. Opinions on platforming Nazis. I don't think that we need to be giving Nazis platforms. But you know, if a person is going to use their platform to challenge a Nazi, then that's a little bit different. But if you're just giving a platform to a Nazi to just let them share their ideas unchallenged, then I feel like that's a problem. Why do you think the stereotype of black guys liking fighting games is so prevalent? I don't know. Sometimes things just happen. I think that I don't even know if that stereotype is necessarily true, but I mean, I know of the stereotype, and you know, I think you probably would find more black guys at a fighting game tournament than you would at, like, you know, a different genre. So a lot of it is just culture and just what becomes cool in certain culture. I can't explain why, but sometimes things just are cool in a certain culture just because over time people share it with each other. Because even just among young men, but especially young black men, sort of fitting in and being cool and being into things that are cool is really important. And fighting games is one of those things, I think. I'm about to sneeze. Ugh, bruh. A lot of the alt-righters, Nazis, are literally just there to bait and gaslight people. Yeah, I know, and that's why it's important to understand what you're doing. This is why I back people. I back people like Destiny, who is a guy that, you know, debates some people like that pretty frequently on his channel, because he understands their tactics and he's equipped to challenge them, and he actually, you know, he cares about actually challenging them. But then some of these other people, they'll have these guys on their channel, and for one, a lot of times you can tell that they have no intention of challenging them at all. Like, their intention is just to sort of say, "Oh, that's what you believe? Interesting. Say more. Tell me more." And that's just, you know, I just think that's completely irresponsible. But then sometimes you have people that may want to challenge them, but just aren't equipped to do it. They aren't knowledgeable enough. They aren't, you know, they don't speak well enough. They don't form ideas well enough. They are not confident enough, you know, stuff like that. Well, I think that within the black community, you know, the idea of machismo and manliness is really big. You know, as just growing up as a young black man, that it's things that are perceived as like manly and macho are usually cool. So I think that fits in with that, and probably the same thing with kung fu movies, and even like anime is another one. Like, I know so many black dudes that love anime. You know, it's just the same sort of thing. just seems cool and macho and like tough. Isn't machismo a big thing in most cultures though? I mean, I'm not saying it's unique to black people. I'm just saying that it's a big part of it. And for example, among young white men in America, that there's some of them that are like that, but there's also like huge groups of them that don't care about that, especially these days. Like in the 90s, there was this big thing about being metrosexual, which was like, it was like cool to be less manly, but not for black people. And this is just speculation. I'm not sure, and I'm just speaking from my experience and what kind of makes sense to me, but I couldn't tell you for sure. And even recently, there's the whole hipster trend where people are, spending a lot of time making sure they look good and dressing up their hair and like, wearing skinny jeans and shit. That not for black people. This coffee's good. I bought this, I can't even remember the brand. I went to Aldi, which is basically like the discount grocery store, but it's awesome. They have pretty good stuff. But I just bought this this coffee just kind of on a whim, and it's actually good. It's a dark roast. I'm not exactly sure what the H&M situation is. I saw like a headline about it, but I didn't look into it. I'm often behind when it comes to the news. But I think that works out for me because a lot of time when you just see that first breaking news, a lot of times it's like without the full context. And that can be bad sometimes. Did I watch any of the Golden Globes? No. Someone shared Oprah's speech on Facebook, and I think that's the only part of it that I watched because someone shared it. Oh yeah, I think I saw that. They put a black boy in a shirt that said "Coolest monkey in the jungle." Yes, I didn't read about it, but I did see the picture. I don't know. It's just really tone deaf, basically. I did a video about this, how these companies make these inexplicable mistakes, and I think it's obviously probably not intended to be, specifically racist, but still, these are obvious mistakes. And what I think is, what that makes me think is there was probably no black people in the room when they were making that design and when they approved that design. If people are harassing employees, that's obviously fucked up. But that's the world we live in. If these workplaces were more diverse, stuff like this just wouldn't happen. But since they're not, this kind of stuff is just going to keep happening. Because I don't think, I don't expect someone who isn't from a certain culture or a certain group to have the necessary point of view to catch things like that. And it's fine that you don't, because you're not in that group. But you still need to have a diversity in your workplace so that someone can catch that. And I just feel like that's what I think about stuff like that. I think it sort of proves the point that workplaces are not diverse enough. Yeah, I briefly read about the Aziz Ansari thing. Apparently, he was just I guess he went on a date with this girl, and he was just being like really aggressive and moving too fast. And the girl was basically making it pretty. It seems like she was making it pretty clear that it was going too fast, and she wanted him to stop. But it it took him way too long to understand what was going on. So he just kept pushing himself on her and like, doing a bunch of inappropriate things. And she like, I guess she revealed the text message that she sent to him after. From what I read, I didn't read too much about it, but from what I read, it seems like she was just like really uncomfortable, and obviously like she said, I think it said verbally and non-verbally indicating that she didn't want to do what was happening, but he just kept going forward. But then eventually he was like, basically, I don't know. Yeah, my guess is he was probably drunk. That's what I guess. This is why alcohol is, problematic. Yeah, I don't think there's, in terms of the monkey thing, like in a vacuum, there's no problem with it. Cool as monkey in the jungle, it's whatever. It's just, but, we don't live in a vacuum. We live in a society that has certain, ideas and different connotations for things. And it's just super tone deaf. That's just the world we live in. That's just how it goes. I don't want to go into this. Um, I don't want to get too deep into this because I don't want to sound like I'm defending shitty behavior. But as a person who's been drunk a lot, alcohol is problematic and it makes you do stuff that you don't mean to do. It just does. That's just a fact. It doesn't excuse you for doing it, but it definitely. And I'm not saying, I'm just guessing because I've been in situations like that. He could have been stone cold sober. But that's just a fact of what alcohol does to you. That's just sort of a guess. But it doesn't excuse the behavior. Just like if you get drunk and drive a car and run over somebody, you can't. It doesn't excuse the behavior. Doesn't make it okay. It's like, oh well, he was drunk. Sorry, we can't blame him. But I can tell you from personal experience on many occasions that alcohol makes you do stupid shit like that. It makes you do shit that you don't believe in and makes you say shit that you don't believe. It's just a fact of how alcohol works. But like I said, that's just a guess. He could have been sober. Maybe he's just super sexually aggressive. It's possible. Sometimes when we get horny, we just have blinders on in terms of consent and stuff like that, and that's a problem. That's part of, toxic masculinity. I don't agree that alcohol shows shitty behavior that you have suppressed. A lot of people say that, but I don't agree that that's true. I think alcohol legit makes you do stuff that you don't believe is right. Depending on the person. And depending on how drunk you get, for sure. And I'm saying this from experience, from personal experience. There's this idea that, the drunk mind expresses the sober thoughts. And I think that's bullshit. Because I've said some completely dumb, stupid shit that I 100% don't believe when I was drunk. Electro Main, thanks for the $5 super chat. Yo, T1J, how are you doing today? What do you think will be the ramifications of the Me Too movement? That's hard to say because I think if people, as long as people keep going with it, because a lot of times what happens in our society is like there's this big viral message, and then we just literally forget about it a couple months later. So as long as we keep this pressure on people up and we keep talking about it, then I think we can probably cause some changes. Because I think that's how change happens, is when we talk about things and we have a discussion and we put pressure on people to think about their actions. It says sizes for men's and women's. Okay, I'll have to fix that. Thanks for catching that out. Definitely feel like it's taught behavior. Men are told to seek sex like a prize rather than as a mutual thing that happens. I agree with that for sure. The thing is, from a logical perspective, there's no reason for someone. There's no benefit to falsely accusing someone of sexual assault, especially if you're a famous person. But I understand it's often not famous people, but still, like, what do they have to gain from that? Money? Like, I don't. It just doesn't seem. It doesn't seem like a thing that anyone would really do. Obviously, people have tried it before, but still, like, why would anyone do that? Like, why would you give some money to someone who falsely accused you of sexual assault? Would you do that? If you had a bunch of money and someone falsely accused you of sexual assault in order to get money from you, would you give them that money? And then we live in a society where we like we half the time don't take the accusation seriously. So like, why would anybody put themselves through the stressful emotional, you know, effort of falsely accusing someone? It just does not make any sense whatsoever. And then, just statistically, at least based on what we know, based on every study that's ever been done about it, false accusations are very super extremely rare. So it actually makes more sense to believe people. Now, obviously, in a court of law, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. That's how the court works, and I think it's that's generally a good idea for how courts work. But when we're just having a conversation, we're not, we're not lawyers. We're human beings with compassion, hopefully, and empathy. I have not heard the Neil deGrasse Tyson accusation. I think the idea that false allegations are a problem is just part of the sort of culture of misogyny and not believing women, because there's no reason to even say that. Yeah, exactly. They're as common as with other crimes. Like when you report, if you report a burglary at your house, how many people are going to be like, but what if it's a false accusation? What if it's false? What if he's lying? No one says that. Yeah, and this is the thing. This is kind of sad, um, because I feel like we spent a lot of time in the past few years talking about consent, and I feel like we should have this by now. Because look, growing up, um, I had incomplete ideas about consent when I was a young man and a teenager. I had to learn, and thankfully, I got to be a part of an online community that educated me on a lot of things. And I feel like a lot of people, a lot of men specifically, had to learn about consent and what it really means. Like, everyone understands the idea of, hey, if someone doesn't want to have sex with you, don't have sex with them. But I really think a lot of men had to learn what really constitutes consent. And I feel like we should know this by now, but it seems like a lot of people don't. You see the app about consent? What is that? Oh, is there an app? I didn't see that. Thoughts on Rich Sargon versus Richard Spencer? I don't know, man. That I feel like that was just an attention grab, and we were kind of talking about like platforming Nazis earlier, and that's just sort of an example of irresponsible platforming of someone with really shitty ideas. Well, I don't know about an app. That doesn't really even seem effective. Because this is the thing about consent. One of the best videos about consent is, I think it's called Consent and Tea. Because it kind of shows how simple the whole thing is, but it shows a lot of situations that a lot of people don't seem to think about as consent. Is the stream still working well? Because I'm getting a lot of like YouTube's telling me that the video output is low. Is it like buffering? I don't know what to do about that though. I think my internet is just going haywire. Well, hopefully it fixes. I don't know. I don't think I can do anything about that because I think it's just my internet messing up. It's weird to me how people argue that talking about consent kills the mood. Yeah. Well, yeah. And I say this a lot, and a lot of my views on things are based on my personal experiences and the experiences of me talking with other people. But I can tell you from personal experience that getting consent, asking for consent, does not kill the mood. It has never killed the mood in my experience, ever. Literally ever. So it's hard for me to believe that that's even a thing. What do you think about Ugandan knuckles? Well, it's pretty disrespectful, right? The thing about it, I don't know. I literally just became aware of this, and there's a level of, hey, this is kind of funny because, you know, it's so fucking absurd. And then, you know, you'll see, like, I've seen like the videos and stuff. and there'll be like one guy doing it, and he's actually doing like a really good accent, and it's like, okay, that's kind of funny. But then you just got like a bunch of fucking, you know, white dudes just clicking and stuff, and it's like, okay, well, this is just, you know, kind of racist, right? And honestly, yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, maybe that's just the world we're living in, where it's like, well, at least they're not fucking talking about how much they hate women and how much, you know, white people are genetically superior to black people. Like, at least it's not stuff like that. And maybe that's the world we live in, where we're just like taking small victories when people are just being stupid instead of like overtly fucking racist. Yeah. And the thing about it is, I don't know, man. I think people just don't think about shit. And I guess when you're just sort of on a game, playing a game, you don't really, you know, you sort of think of it as, you know, I'm just hanging out with my in group. So it's not like it's not like I would act like this in public. And I think that's fair to some extent. Like, I don't really give a shit what kind of jokes you make in your home when you're hanging out with your friends. Like, as long as you treat people with respect in your day-to-day life. But, you know, you have to think someone who would just think that, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not losing sleep over it. I'll put it that way. See, it's one of those things where my what I speculate is probably the first person to do it was just like, hey, I can do a pretty good accent, and this is kind of funny to me. And then so he started doing it, and that's fine, you know. But then what the problem is, all these other people come around and they're like, yeah, oh, that's funny, like fucking African people are stupid, right? Let me make the clicking noise in the microphone, because, you know, we're so much more civilized than they are, right? Because they talk weird. And then that's where the problem comes in. And that's why I think you kind of have to be sort of responsible about the things that you talk about. It's just sort of like, you know, I brought up Destiny recently, and he was talking about a while back. He was talking about how I don't know if he still does, but he likes to call people autistic. You know, the thing when people say autistic as an insult. And he was talking about how, you know, when he says it, obviously he's not trying to insinuate that autistic people there's something wrong with being autistic. But he started to realize that when some of his fans were saying it, they were actually implying, you know, they're actually using it in a derogatory way against mentally ill people. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm not losing sleep over it. There are definitely worse things in the world. Like honestly, like sometimes, and I don't know how you guys are gonna feel about this, but sometimes I'm just like, man, white people gonna white. I don't know what else to say about it. I don't know. Yeah, but like going back to the whole consent thing, like I honestly feel like it's not that complicated. But maybe it's just because I'm like just like old. Well, not old, but you know. Ranked the most toxic social media: YouTube comments, Facebook, Twitter, 4chan. I feel like 4chan has to be number one, right? I'm not sure though. I never go to 4chan, but my idea in my head of 4chan is just like a pit of chaos and absurdity. Twitter is definitely worse. Twitter is probably worse than YouTube comments. And I would put Facebook last. I've talked to a lot of people that say that Facebook is just awful, but my experience with Facebook has not been that bad. Yeah, well, I think you have to make sure that you're not excusing someone for doing something shitty. Like, you know, saying, making fun, saying, using an African accent in a fucking video game because you're like bored and have nothing else to do. That's a different level between, say, you know, being violent or aggressively sexual. So when you say something, you have to make sure that you're just not excusing shitty behavior. I think the whole boys will be boys thing is kind of flawed in general, especially nowadays, just because what how does a boy, like, it kind of implies that boys are just inherently shitty in some ways, and that's not, I don't think we have to accept that premise. You could teach a boy to not be shitty. But yeah, social media, I'm kind of over social media, man. I basically just talk to my friends on Facebook. Like I like tweet every now and then, but I don't really talk to people on Twitter that much. I don't like get in conversations with people on Twitter anymore. I like I pretty much only use Tumblr to when people send me asks. I like rarely even look at Tumblr that much these days. I think I'm in a unique position because I have like followers. So, if I want to be heard, it's pretty easy. I can just put something on the internet. But like, I feel like maybe for some other people, it might be a little weird. And I think people might go to great lengths to get people to hear them. And that's why you see all this crazy shit on the internet. There's this weird sense of gender essentialism that we put on men because masculinity has remained so rigid, whereas women have progressed so much in a short time span. Yeah. And this is where I get into this is where we have to start acknowledging facts and stuff. Like, one of the things that's really annoying to me in these political debates is when people invoke biology, because it's like, okay, you understand that the word biology, that's a scientific term where people who have spent their whole lives studying this stuff, you know, it's a fact-based scientific study. So you can't claim biology on stuff unless you got the facts behind it. You know what I'm saying? I talked about this on Twitter. It's, you know, not like a sexual thing, but I noticed, like, I have a really, really huge family, and it just kind of turned out that most of the people on my mom's side of the family, they all had boys. Like, all their children are boys, and most of the people on my dad's side of the family, they mostly had girls. So I got to really see how parents treat their children in different aspects. And I remember, you know, over the holidays, I went to hang out with my dad's family for a while. And then a few weeks later, I got to hang out with my mom's family. And, you know, kids are kids. Kids are going to do what they want to do. Kids run around, they scream, they play. You know, that's just what kids do. But I noticed that the boys, whenever the boys were running around screaming, tearing shit up, they just kind of let them do it. You know, they didn't tell them to be quiet. They didn't tell them to stop. The only time they would ever talk to them is if someone just started crying or something or screaming, and they're like, okay, what's going on, basically. But I noticed with the girls, as soon as the girls got a little bit too loud or a little bit too rough, everyone was like, hey, y'all sit down. Y'all shut up. Why y'all being so loud? Like, immediately. And this is obviously just a very small example, but that really struck out to me. Like, and I think that just, you know, I feel like that's an example of what we're talking about with, you know, the whole boys will be boys thing, and how we sort of encourage the aggressive, loud, you know, outward behavior in men, but we suppress it in women. You're talking, I mean, you're talking about it a little bit in the wrong way. There are obviously, you know, the human beings are sexually dimorphic species, but a lot of the ways that human beings act are socially conditioned. You know, they're socially created. And a lot of the ways that we, like, talking about sexes as if there are, you know, just two completely distinct sexes, is just, that's not the correct way to talk about it. And like I said, if you're going to invoke biology, you have to know what you're talking about. And this is interesting. People keep doing this. Like, I understand, okay, you know, they taught you in elementary school that there's two sexes. I get that. But science evolves, dude. Yo, how about Don Lemon saying Trump is a racist and cutting off that dude? Honestly, like Don Lemon is like he's a character. But honestly, I'm just happy to see just someone on a major network just actually like take a stance on something, especially CNN, which is known for being super fucking middle of the road on everything. But I feel like eventually you have to just stop bullshitting and just call something what it is. And I'm, I think Don Lemon sometimes crosses the line in terms of being professional and stuff, but I'm just happy to see someone saying something about anything, CNN is like, it's just a bunch of nothing most of the time. Like, I don't know. There's one thing to say, and this is why we like. I've said this so many times. We value our own, convictions and opinions way too much. And it's one thing to say like, I think that men should be like this, and I think, or I prefer it when men are like this, or I prefer it when women are like this. And that's one thing. I think even saying that can be a little problematic. But it's completely different from saying men are like this because biology, is I think you have to differentiate between the two things. I think, I know a lot of people, for example, I know a lot of women that like macho masculine men, muscular, strong, outgoing men. I know tons of women that are into that. I know tons of men that are into that. But you have to differentiate from saying this is my preference, this is what I like, these are the men that I want to hang out with. Then this is a man. If a man isn't like this, that's a problem. They're defying their biology, all kinds of stuff like that. Are cheap Chinese knockoffs and cultural appropriation equatable? Chinese knockoffs, like in terms of what? I don't know. I have a much more measured view on cultural appropriation than probably most progressives. I mean, what do we even mean when we say equal? We're like equal under the societal norms, or being treated equally by others. I don't necessarily. I think that humans will probably always fear things that are different from them, and sort of be resistant to things that they don't understand. I don't know that will ever change. I think that being disrespectful to a culture is one thing, especially if you're making something that is supposed to represent a culture, but you don't bother to 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 display it or exhibit it correctly. But you know, like wearing moccasins or something, it's like, okay, if you think they're cool, I don't care. Hexer, someone actually asked a similar question earlier about Me Too, and it's just going to depend on how we react as a society. As long as we keep pushing, then it can have lasting effects. I don't know if we will, because we're really good at forgetting about things after it's not hip anymore. So I think people have sort of calmed down on the cultural appropriation thing, because there was a time back in the heyday of Tumblr where people were saying shit like, if you eat Chinese food, that's cultural appropriation. Like if you speak Spanish and you're a white person, that's cultural appropriation. And it's like, okay, calm down, relax. But I think there are still things that people get hung up on. A lot of it, I think, has to do with sort of the idea of sacred aspects of culture, which I kind of inherently oppose, or just I'm averse to the idea of anything being sacred, because it gets into almost like a religious thing, and I think that just sort of is anti-intellectual. But there's a level of just being completely disrespectful to other human beings, you know. I think a good example is, like racist Halloween costumes, for example. I don't know if you can call that cultural appropriation, but that's just an example of just literally just being rude. And I don't really lose sleep over racist costumes, but it's like, you kind of being a dick. You piss people off for no reason. But most of the time, cultural appropriation is people appreciating something from a different culture, or even just liking it a little bit. And I feel like you're allowed to do that. As I said in my video, you're allowed to like stuff. One of my most popular videos. You're allowed to like stuff, If you're a white person and you like dreadlocks, you're allowed to like dreadlocks, at least in my opinion. You just have to understand the context of what you're doing. I think there's some value in understanding, I think, I don't know. I think taking aspects of cultures is cool if you think it's cool. If you're like, I think the problem comes when you're exploiting aspects of a culture for your own gain or to be trendy. Like, that's where it gets a little weird. But if you just like dreadlocks, it's like, okay, that's fine. If you just like Asian culture, that's fine. But like, if you're Miley Cyrus and you exploit black culture for your own financial gain, that's kind of fucked up, right? And then you also have to think about, a lot of times aspects of culture are, I don't know, like for example, dreadlocks. Depending on the situation, like I don't think even white people with dreadlocks, I don't think that's considered like a professional hairstyle. But like for example, as a person with dreadlocks, I can tell you it's like no one will hire you if you have dreadlocks, you know? Obviously some people will hire you. And you know, in fact, I have like one of my best friends has dreadlocks and he has a really good job as an engineer. But it's really hard to get hired when you have dreadlocks and you're black. It's probably easier to get hired, especially if you're a woman with dreadlocks, because it looks like a more natural, like men with long hair are often considered unprofessional in general, but it's often easier if you're a white person with dreadlocks to be employable. And you kind of have to acknowledge that if you're gonna do that. You have to acknowledge that, hey, this is just, you know, you're in a privileged position to be doing this and not experience the same downfalls or whatever. Do you think money is the most important privilege in Western society? I think it's the most important privilege in the world. But I just care way more about how you actually treat people than like what kind of shit you're wearing and what kind of hairstyle you have. And in fact, almost every white person I've met that had dreadlocks was like a super chill ass person, to be honest. The shitty people are the one that have the fucking Hitler Youth hairstyles. That's what you need to. That's what you need to look out for, not the dreadlocks. Well, I don't know. I don't want to get into a contest about what's the best, you know, or worst group to be in, but because it all is tied together. But at the end of the day, money rules everything. There's going to be situations and contexts where different things interact. You know, like fucking Oprah Winfrey, you know, one of the richest people in the world. She went to a purse store in some other country and they didn't recognize her and they looked at her like, why are you here? What is this black woman doing in our store? Like, are you lost? And obviously, okay, that's a disadvantage of being black. But at the end of the day, Oprah could have went to her checking her bank account and fucking had that place, bought that place and fired everybody that worked there. At the end of the day, if she wanted to. So at the end of the day, I think money controls everything. If money's the highest privilege, shouldn't we promote making lots of money as the highest virtue? Well, no, privilege. I think that promoting financial freedom is definitely important. But I think that what's a better idea is to make it so that having money is not such a huge advantage over not having it. But yeah, I think that teaching our children, hey, money is important and you should try not to be stupid with it is super important. Yeah. because money is important. But yeah, I think a better idea is changing how we interact with money as a society. Probably probably making it so people so some people just don't have that much money. So I feel like people just have too much money and that there's just not enough for other people. No, money is definitely not happiness. It's hard for me to imagine that people who are just like born wealthy are automatically happy. I feel like they're maybe more likely to be unhappy, because if you have the ability to gain everything you want, it's really hard to find the true meaning of life, or find your actual purpose, because you can do whatever you want. You think the thing is having too much money, not necessarily too much, but I think that people have an amount of money that is completely disproportionate to their value to society. I don't begrudge anyone who makes a lot of money, and I don't begrudge anyone for trying to make more money than what they have. The problem is when you're making money at the expense of other people, and when you're making money knowing that there are people that have no money at all, and you're okay with that. That's where the problem lies. Like if everyone was eating, and everyone, was taking care of their family, and no one was starving, then, I would be like, go for it, man. Make all the money you want, because everyone's doing fine. And those people down there, if they want to put some more effort in to try to make some more money, they could do that too. But the problem is there's people who don't have drinkable water in the world. If I was a person that had like $100 billion and I knew that, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. So that's where the problem lies. Can you tell us a little more about your Ecuadorian heritage? Are you talking to me? My heritage is Panamanian. It's pretty. I mean, I understand a lot of the wealth that people have is not like actual cash, but still, even if you took, you know how much you could do with like $1 billion in the world. Much less the many, many billions that all these people have. I don't know. And a lot of people do spend a lot of money helping, and I think that kind of proves that charity is not enough to fix the world. But still, I honestly don't know a whole lot about my heritage, and that's something I need to like study up more. And like I said, I don't begrudge anyone for making money. And the problem is these people have so much more money than they can ever spend. It's just kind of a bizarre place to be. I don't really understand it. I'm not in that position. Maybe if I was, I would understand it more. If you think of like someone like, for example, J.K. Rowling, you know, do you know that she was a billionaire and she dropped from being a billionaire to a millionaire because she gave so much of her money away? But that's part of it too, is it's hard to become wealthy in the first place if you give your money away, you know? Like I have friends who work 9 to 5, make just normal amount of money, 30, 40, 50, $60,000 a year, but they're super generous. They're always helping people out. They're always buying gifts for everybody. They're always taking people out to dinner. And you know, that's just the type of people they are. But they're never going to get rich doing that, you know, because you don't get rich by spending money. Would ever buy a smartwatch? Yeah, I want one. I'm a person that would like to be wealthy and I'm trying to figure out how to do it. But I just can't imagine having like billions of dollars and just hoarding it. Like that just seems really silly. And this is a thing too. This is why a lot of actual rich people go broke, because they give so much of their money away. But I feel like our system, at least in America, is set up literally just to keep rich people rich. So I feel like that may be just bad decision making. But still, you know, like all these athletes and rappers and stuff, they like take care of their whole family. Like they buy their whole family like 8 cars and stuff, which is cool. That's what I would do too. Like I think there's a lot of rich people who are doing good things and doing interesting things, but then there's a lot of other rich people who their only focus seems to be to make more money. And I just don't really identify with that. Like you know, a good example is, and someone that I personally identify with is Hank Green, who I don't know how much money he has, but I think he's relatively wealthy, and he's used his opportunities and his wealth to create more things to entertain and help other people. Like almost everything he's created is something that helps other people in some way, you know? He created many educational YouTube channels. He created, you know, entertainment. He created 2D glasses. Like that's the type of things that I would do in that situation. Like he's using his wealth to create more things that help people. But then you have, you know, fucking Exxon Mobil or something. It's like, hey, we're gonna continue to destroy the environment so we can make more money. That's a good line. I've never heard that one. If you're poor, you have to be a genius to get rich, and if you're rich, you have to be an idiot to become poor. I don't think it's immoral to have money. I back it. I um I clash with a lot of my leftist friends because I generally support capitalism. I like markets. I like competition. I just think there needs to be a lot of regulations and things in place to keep people from being exploited and being uh just poor. But I like the idea of hard work and good ideas resulting in profit for you. I had someone told me that they unsubscribed from me because they found out I wasn't a communist. Do you think politicians should make less money? I think politicians should make no money. I think being a politician should be a public service that one volunteers to do. Being anti-capitalist is, well, no, it's not necessarily communism, but a lot of people, at least a lot of people in this online community that I'm sort of tangentially a part of are socialists and communists. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. They can have other jobs. um, Lizard Wizard, thank you for coming to the stream. Well, it seems that them making a lot of money doesn't discourage them from taking money from companies. So I don't know if that's a correlation there. Like maybe there could be some kind of stipend for them just to make up for like the gas money and shit. But they definitely shouldn't be making fucking hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I don't think that being a politician, I don't think there should be a financial incentive to be a politician. Put it that way. And I think it would be interesting to try like little to no salary for politicians. Because then no one would do it except people that actually wanted to help. Although I guess you could still gain some power and people still like power even if it doesn't come with a lot of money. Have politicians live off Patreon. That would be interesting. I mean, it might work if it was just a meager paycheck, I don't know. I mean, I can think about it more, but the thing that I'm worried about is there being a financial incentive for being in politics, like basically just making it easy money. Like when we had this controversy here in Alabama because the city council, at first the city council, I think they made like $10,000 a year or something. Um, and they voted amongst themselves to increase their salaries to like, I think it was like 60,000 a year, and everybody was like, well, what the fuck, like this isn't supposed to be like your career, this is like you're volunteering to help the community. Well, lobbying shouldn't be legal to begin with, so if lobbying wasn't legal, being a former lobbyist would not be a problem. I mean, we'd have to crack down on illegal bribery, of course, because it would still happen. But we just have to be in a society that actually cared to do that, and I don't think we do. All right, Sean Teal, thanks for coming to the stream. Probably gonna stream for about 30 more minutes, guys. Thanks for coming through as always. Had a lot of people watching today. I don't know. I think it's worth thinking about. I'm no expert, but definitely there's some things that we need to work on, things we need to change in our system. Definitely need to get as much money out of politics as possible. You know, we've got the corporations actually writing the laws. You know, that's how bad it is. They actually write the laws. And you know, there may be different standards when you're talking about the president and congressmen. I was sort of thinking in terms of just politicians in general at all levels, but I probably kind of still feel the same at the highest level. But I can understand maybe a small stipend just to cover, you know, regular expenses like your gas and the pens and pencils at your desk and shit like that. Like I can understand that. But I just don't think you need to be, I don't think being a career politician should be a thing. I think a politician should be a volunteer job that you do because you want to help your community. But I agree that the bigger problem is the bribery and the lobbying and all that stuff. That's definitely a bigger problem. But I was just sort of speaking in general, my thoughts on that. Well, if we live in a society where people wouldn't volunteer to be politicians, we've got a bigger problem than how much we pay them. I don't think that's true though. I think people would volunteer. Thanks for the $2 super chat, Electric Low Main. I'm out T1J Hollow. Let's get the AdSense up. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, my AdSense is normally like nothing unless I get a lot of super chats that month. So the super chats definitely help. I'm not sure how much like Congress people make. I think they make at least 100,000 a year. That to me, that just seems kind of absurd. I know the president makes 400,000 a year, but the president is almost always already a rich person. So I'm a patron living in NYC. I would if I could. That's fine. If you're already a patron, then that's you're doing your part. It's good. Appreciate that. But these are just sort of my speculations based on my sort of ideas about what might work. But I could be wrong about everything. Or we could try something and it could turn out being better. I think I'm talking too loud. Sorry about that. I don't know exactly how wealthy Obama was, but he was definitely rich. Reverse Mana, thank you for the super chat, $5. How do you think we should go about illegal bribing, since we know that some people tend to look the other way if lobbying was outlawed? See, I don't know, a lot of these questions rely on us just caring, both as a society and as a government, and we just don't care enough. At least we don't care enough. So first of all, making it illegal is the first step, and that's going to cut down on a lot of it, I think. But you're right, there's going to be a lot of illegal bribing, but we need to have laws in place that have harsh penalties when people get caught doing it. And I think that's going to deter some people to do it. And we just, over time, the more people get penalized for doing it, I think the less it'll happen. I don't know if we'll be able to completely stamp it out. And in fact, I said earlier that the idea of capitalism, regulated capitalism, I support. But I think that's one of the biggest problems with capitalism that I'm trying to work through, that I'm trying to figure out, is money in politics. Because with capitalism, there's always going to be rich people and not rich people. And so there's always the idea that rich people, oh shit, I hit my hand. Anyway, that rich people are going to use their money to influence the government. And that's to me, that's the biggest problem with capitalism. Or at least the type of capitalism that I advocate. So that's one of the problems we'll have to do. Spiel build. Thank you for, I don't know, what currency is that? I don't even know what that is. What is... Norwegian krone. Okay, sweet. Thank you for the 20 Norwegian krone. Is that how you say that? Did I miss you eating a sundae? No, you didn't. I've just decided to call my Livestream Sunday. It's pretty catchy name since it's on Sunday. Oh, Donald's favorite, yeah. I think I read a thing that was like most Norwegians were considering that basically like a backhanded compliment. It's like, what do you mean? What do you mean people from Norway? There's like no reason for anyone from Norway to move to the United States. I've talked a lot about how I probably eventually want to move to a different country, and Norway's like really high on my list of places that I'm thinking about. The problem is, isn't it cold in Norway? I want to go somewhere where it's not cold. You ever realize that most developed countries have shitty weather? What's up with that? Enjoyed watching you eat a sundae for like 10 minutes with no audio. I wish, dude. What do you consider cold? Dude, cold is like anything under fucking 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Maybe I'll move to like Greece or something. I think they have good weather there. And I can compromise by just moving to Southern California, which has great weather. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, just the weather, like, sort of forces you to figure out how to work. Like, if you're just living in like an island paradise, you have no incentive to do anything. You're just like chilling because it's awesome. Feels awesome all the time. John Stamos is my man crush, so I would love to do that. But I'm trying to find a country that has good weather, but also not a totally corrupt society and nice people. It's currently negative 30 degrees Celsius in Canada. How much is that in Fahrenheit? I don't know. I don't remember how to do it. Oh, it's close. Negative 22. Yeah, I think it's if it's around 30. Yeah, that's way too cold. Fuck that, dude. I don't ever want to experience that. I think I've experienced something close to that when I used to live in Maryland. I think it got down to like negative 12 one day when I was a kid. Fuck that. That's absurd, dude. It was like 12 degrees the other day here, and that was like almost unbearable. Buy a sweater. Yeah, if only it was that simple. I mean, even here where I live, it's not cold. It's cold only for a small portion of the year. But the thing is, it's like rainy and humid. It's just awful all year long. But I feel like if you have a choice to move somewhere, why not move somewhere that has great weather? I don't even know why you wouldn't even do that. But if that ever happens, that's probably going to be a long time from now. But I feel like I need to move somewhere. America is just, it's just too much. This country's out of control. Yeah, I was thinking Italy. Reverse Mana, thank you for the $2 super chat. Well, I'm off. Eat a Sunday next Sunday. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll make that a thing where I just get a Sunday every week. Where is it actually great weather all year round? Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. In Southern California, it is. And I imagine it's probably not the only place in the world like that. I think Greece is pretty good. I've read that Greece and like southern Italy is really good. Barcelona. I want to learn some other languages anyway, so maybe I can learn some languages in preparation. Yeah, usually places that are near the equator usually have decent weather. Are you saying you're gonna move to LA? How cliche. It's possible. It makes a lot of sense for me because I'm a YouTuber and that's where all the YouTubers live. But it makes sense because it's just sort of the hub of media and entertainment, and it's just a lot more opportunities for networking and stuff if you're in that field. So I think it makes sense for me. And also, my brother makes music, and he's also in the entertainment industry. So we've been talking about maybe we'll go down there together. So it's cliche, but it actually makes sense. But it's still in America, so that's the only problem. I don't know. The only thing is a lot of people say that the people in LA are kind of insufferable, and if that's the case, that's going to be kind of annoying to deal with. But I mean, I already live in Birmingham, Alabama, which is kind of a random ass place to be. I assume that it's more progressive than Alabama, but it also may be more um, or less genuine, less desperate. Yeah, I've heard about the traffic, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. All of this stuff is, far down the line, probably many years, unless I just like blow up and make a whole bunch of money in 2018 and start making some life changes. I don't, I don't really want to move away from my family quite yet, but you never know what can happen. A lot can happen in a short amount of time. Fucking like Snoop Dogg or something might call me up and be like, "Hey, I need you to come down here. I got a job for you." I'm doing it. If Snoop Dogg calls me, I'm going. Yeah, I don't have to do like a work commute, but it still would be annoying. Here in Alabama, or here in Birmingham, there's this highway called Highway 280, which is always fucking traffic jams every fucking day. But there's a lot of good spots on 280. You know, there's that's where the Target is. That's where the Whole Foods is. That's where the bowling alley is. There's just like a lot of places that you want to go. So it's just really annoying if you ever need to go to any of those places because you have to sit in traffic. But yeah, it's not as bad as someone who has to commute every day. What music do I like? I guess my favorite music is hip hop, but I like music of all genres. All right, guys, we're gonna wind down the stream. So I'm gonna leave in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Thanks to everyone that came to the stream. As always, if you didn't know, I stream every Sunday around this time. It's currently almost 3 p.m. and I usually want to start around 1 p.m. I've kind of been slacking on that in the past couple of weeks, but hopefully I get back on track. Haven't gone bowling in forever. I go bowling maybe like 3 times a year. Maybe not even that. And I'm really, really bad at bowling, so it's usually just for fun. You always get here when I wind down. Well, I'm really inconsistent about what time I start, so that would probably help if I wasn't. But the idea is to start around 1 p.m. Central Time, which is 2 hours earlier than now. The Disney death rating was good, man. I might do some more videos in that vein because I'm taking a more relaxed approach to this channel. I'm gonna try something new in 2018 where I do more, not light, but just more of a combination of more YouTubey type stuff. Because I don't think like the polished video essays are really fitting for YouTube. I'm gonna try that on other platforms, and I'll let you guys know about where you can find. I'll probably still put it on here, but I'm gonna try other stuff. So I might do more stuff like that. Bowling alleys do usually sell booze, so that's honestly, and it's often not even that expensive. So that's kind of what we do. Just get like a couple pitchers of beer and just get drunk and throw around fucking 20-pound balls because that's a good idea. I see you in South Europe. That's where we're going if Donald wins again. Oh God, I can't even imagine if Donald Trump wins again. Holy shit. Like, if you guys have social media, consider following me on my social media. All the links will be in the description below. I think Twitter is probably the best one, but you can do whatever you want. Yeah, probably not 20 pounds, but I like 14 pounds, 13. The secret to bowling is using the heaviest ball that you can get. Makes it knock the pins down better. But it also makes your hand get sore and tired faster, so if you want to send me a message or ask me a more in-depth question, consider emailing me at hello@theonejanitor.com. If you want to ask a shorter question, I have Ask.fm, ask.fm/the one janitor, or Curious Cat, curiouscat.me/the one janitor. And I answer almost every question that I get on those, unless they're just like really weird or like trolly or spammy. You can also ask me a question on Tumblr, theonejanitor.tumblr.com/ask. You subscribed 2 days ago, finding through Stixhammer666. I don't even know who that is. I need to figure out who that is. Story about first time someone used a racial slur against me in real life. I don't know. We'll talk about that next time. Remember that question, because I'm winding down here. If you'd like to support the stream, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Even $1 a month is very helpful. It helps me do this sustainably, and it helps me sort of pursue my goal of becoming a successful online creator and eventually moving to like Greece or Norway. So if you're interested in that, consider becoming a patron. If you want to check out my merch, like this shirt here with the angry stack of beverage napkins on it, you can buy this. Did you know that? Go to theonejanitor.com/store, and there's this design and a bunch of other designs you can check. What's for dinner? Probably chicken. I have some chicken defrosting. And I'll go through all my affiliate links. If you want to support me, you can go to any of the following links. If you have a YouTube channel and you want to download an add-on that will just help you optimize your YouTube channel, I use it. It's called TubeBuddy. It's amazing. I use it, definitely. I recommend it 100%. You can go to theonejanitor.com/TubeBuddy, TubeBuddy. It's just an add-on that helps you optimize your channel. It help you do keyword research. It helps you do a lot of things. Like, there's way too many features for me to talk about this now. And it's free. It's 100% free. You can upgrade it for more money, which I suggest. I've done it. I pay for it every month because it's worth it. But you can check that out. If you need web hosting and you need cheap web hosting, you can try out Bluehost. theonejanitor.com/Bluehost. It's not like the super most amazing web host ever, but it is probably the cheapest. So if you just need like a starter website, consider it. You can get it for like $3-4 a month. That's how cheap it is. Thank you, Julia. What else? If you're gonna do any shopping on Amazon, consider using my link. Because the way Amazon affiliate works, if you use my link, no matter what you buy, they hook me up a little bit. So if you're considering buying anything on Amazon, go to theonejanitor.com/Amazon and just do your shopping as normal. And they help me out with that. And that link will also, link to a product that you can check out, but just do that. What else I got? I got links, man. I gotta push my shit. If you're interested in cryptocurrency, I've recently gotten really into cryptocurrency. Like Bitcoin, things like that. Check out Coinbase. That's like a really good intro site to get into cryptocurrency, buy some Bitcoin, kind of look at the charts and stuff. Check out theonejanitor.com/Coinbase. And all of those links I just gave are affiliate links, which means if you check them out, I get a little cut. There you go. So I guess that's it. Follow me on Twitter And I should have a new video coming out very soon. I think the next video is going to be a stream highlight from a previous stream. The Amazon one is the onejanitor.com/Amazon. It's just going to take you to the site, and you can do your normal shopping as normal. And I think it will definitely link to a product. But if you want that product, you can buy it. If not, just don't buy it. You're right, Amazon is not good to their employees. And that's something that we can talk about in the future, but I'm leaving now. I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for all of your support. And should be back next Sunday. Bye.